right. It's recording now. How are you?
I'm very well, brother. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry it's been a long time getting this kicking off, man. But it's good. Thank you.
Yeah, with the success of Salty Waters 2, it must be pretty crazy at the moment. You must have tons of things lined up.
Well, not really, man. I guess it's more just celebration time with me and the boys, you know. We're just the end of a project, you know. So you put a lot into it, a lot of years work, a lot of drive, and it's just good to see that that something out of nothing kind of mentality going on, you know. So yeah, it's all excitement, man. It's all cheers, it's all beers.
Yeah. Well, as you already know, when I was talking to your beat maker, he was telling me about the pressure and the stress of making such a big album, and he pulled it off well, obviously, but yeah, I can imagine the stress behind it.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot when you working with some of these artists, you know. Obviously, man, they're the dudes we've grown up listening to, same as yourself, you know. These are the OGs, you know. So I guess, yeah, you know, for Beatsmith and their production, who, you know, they made the album in my eyes, him and Rob Shaker. So I guess they want to have the quality when they got people like, you know, your Method Mans and that rapping over top. So but we did it, man. It's finished. Yeah. It's good. It's all good.
Definitely. Congratulations. But before we get into those albums, I want to start from the beginning. So the first question I try to ask every artist is, where did you get your name from, Optymisitc?
Optymisitc. Well, yeah, growing up as a dude, man, I've gone through a bunch of names over the years. I had Insane MC back in the day, MC, because my name's Matt Campbell, so I was like doing this MC thing. Mr. No Qualms, the Buddha Bush Bat, all types of shit like that. But I think Optymisitc was just one that suited my personality a lot. I was always, I guess, a positive person. That's what my friend said, you know, very overly positive, and I guess a lot of the mystic side of life as well, you know, the elementals and mysticism. So blending those two together, it made sense, and it was a no-brainer, and became Optymisitc back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001. And stuck with that name finally, you know, after developing as an artist over the years.
Yeah, and you know, this next question is a bit interesting because normally I ask people, how did you like, who are your inspirations to get into hip hop? But you're one of the first artists that I'm interviewing who actually have their idols on track with them. So it's kind of like, I know where your influences come from, but are there any influences that I don't know about, that we don't know about, that led you to hip hop?
Oh, I guess I'd say family and friends, you know, like one of my older cousins, my cousin Kevy, and even my older brother, you know, he got me into old Public Enemy and stuff as a kid, you know. So I guess besides the actual artists themselves, it would have been a couple of family members and stuff like that, which, yeah, helped pave the way, and that fascination.
Cool. All right. So I want to start with the original Salty Waters, the 2018 one, the one that you recommended me to listen to, and I did back, I think, a few months ago or less than that. So I want to know what inspired you. You know, what was the whole process of getting all these artists onto your album? Was it a difficult process to contact all these people, have them in your studio? Did they send their recordings? What actually happened with that?
Oh man, it was a mixed bag of everything. I think Salty Waters 1 was it became a level where we'd worked so hard over the years. We'd already dropped a couple of albums prior. So we were kind of aged into our craft, and you know, it was just a good level where we're at. And I'd already worked with some of these artists before on other albums. So, you know, I was reaching out to different people via either management, either emails, either personal contact, which I already had with them. Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag there, but that's what I do, you know. With the age of technology, it's so great where we can now be on different sides of the world to collaborate and create on things. You know, I can send them, which is what I normally did. I'd just send them the track with my verse, obviously the beat made down, and then normally the hook on it as well. And then they'd just record their verses accordingly to how they like it, and then send their stems back, which we would mix it. Some artists we had in the studios over the years, you know, I was lucky to work with Speech from Arrested Development in the studio when I was living over in Sydney. Chip Fu, when he was over from the Fushnikins, we had him over, so we got him in the studio doing stuff. But because of the distance, I guess majority of it was, international connections and done via, sending tracks, sending stems back. But yeah, man, a big process. And Salty Waters 1, we had 4 producers on that. We still had Rob Shaker and Beat Smith, but also had a man from the UK by the name of Endemic Emerald, who produces a lot for like Rusty Jukes and artists like that over in Boot Camp. And also had UG from the Cellar Dwellers, who I'm a big fan of. So loved the Cellar Dwellers growing up, and he produced a few beats for that album as well. So there's a lot more complex with the producers, with having the 4 producers and so many artists. But I think Salty Waters 1 is the one that I'll take to the grave as as my personal favorite, because it's just such a pinnacle for what we were doing at the time. I hadn't seen any other album like that come out of Australia. No hip hop album like that at all, man. Like, not in that kind of style, as hip hop's developed in Australia. So yeah, man, it's just something for the trophy room for us. So very happy with it.
Yeah, no, it's a really good album. And the one question I just thought about right now is, this might sound weird, but because you work with so many, American sounding artists, and the album is a mix of Australian and American, do you ever get any comment from them about your Australian accent? Do they ever go, oh wow, we don't really hear that often? Do they ever say anything, or not really?
Only a little bit. A couple of times I have. I can't remember. I think Keith Murray. Speaking of Keith Murray this morning, Keith Murray was saying some stuff. So when he did the track with me, he wanted me to send him a bunch of Australian colloquialisms. So I did. I found a list of Aussie colloquialisms and I gave it to him, and he ended up using them himself in the songs that we did. I never personally thought I had a strong Australian accent when I rap. When I do it, I mean, I know there'll be certain words that cut through when you do it, but yeah, a few artists did. I think Mr. Cheeks and Rock as well, when I was up in the States, were commenting when we were up there, but nothing too crazy, nothing out of the top. But and a few interviews when I've done over States are a bit like that about the accent. But I think it's a good time for hip hop on that worldwide level, especially for Australia, New Zealand and stuff, and everywhere really, France, everywhere, it's kind of, it's the right time for it, It's just a beautiful time for a worldwide hip hop scene, and great hearing so many different styles,
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, I really enjoy the album, and I'm glad you got me onto it. So, all right. So now 2 years on, what made you think specifically the Salty Waters was the sequel? Among all the other albums, you chose to make a Salty Waters 2. When did that process go through your head? When did you go, all right, this is the sequel I want, let's make it happen?
It was almost directly at the end of it, bro. I'm not going to lie. I think because my passion for music is the creative side, actually making the music. So I think when we come to the end, it was a bit of a sad situation, because it was like, we're going to stop making the songs. So, and I know, just didn't feel like we're ready to stop. So where we were going, we're on a roll. The fire was hot. So, excuse me, just kept rolling with it. And we started making more songs of the same caliber and a similar sound, kind of fine-tuned and stuff with just having the 2 producers to keep it more home type of thing. But yeah, man, it was just almost straight off the bat. We finished Salty Waters 1 and we went straight into Salty Waters 2 and just continued. So I kind of knew it straight away. I was like, man, we're just going to make a number 2 straight away. So yeah, we just didn't stop. From 2018, when number 1 released, the next 2 years, we went into Salty Waters 2 and made that, man, and just did 2 albums almost identical, but 2 of the bucket list type of albums,
No, that's sick. So that means, so the creative process would have been exactly the same. No, that's good. I love it. So leading on from the Salty Waters projects, what can you tell me about the Protectors of the Lost Art saga, the era of that? What can you say differently? Was there a different mindset going into that album than there was with the Salty Waters? Do you have a different mindset with the group of people that you're with? Even though they're the same as the Salty Waters, isn't it? The same artists help on the same projects.
Similar, very similar.
Yeah.
The main influence with the Protectors basically was, that's me and a good friend of mine by the name of JR. So he and I were also good friends growing up through high school eras. So we've done a lot of hip hop, and we were like well overdue to create an album together. So instead of being Optymisitc and JR, we created the Protectors. You know, we're both massive collectors of the culture and have been into it for a long time. So having Beatsmith on board, you know, with myself, JR and Beatsmith, who make up the Protectors, yeah, we created that album. And I think it was more JR's influence, where he really wanted the more early 90s sound. He was really wanted that, the style of recording, the type of mixing, didn't want it as polished up as we would make Salty Waters 1. Still wanted a bit more of a grimier, dirty mix in the sound. So Beatsmith did a lot of the mixing on the acapellas and all that stuff. And we got Rob Shaker to master the album, and in a specific way, just so we could keep that kind of 94, 95 sound. So that was a great project, man. That was a lot of fun. That album took like 4 years. We were kind of chipping away at that one. That was like on the side, and we kept working on it, trying to find the artists to work, you know, like JR got KRS-One on there, for God's sake, man. Like the boom bap bloody god of hip hop, you know. Lords of the Underground was someone that I wanted to get on there. So it's kind of the guys we were fans of, and trying to keep that essence of that sound. That was the main idea of that project, was to not polish it up and make it too clean, and keep it a bit dirtier, like you're listening to an album from the mid 90s to early 90s. And I think we did a great job. I think everyone did a great job. Beatsmith mixing, Rob Shaker's master, and the actual whole process came out awesome, man. So yeah, we need to get those on CDs and vinyls. We still haven't done that.
Some good ones. So
yeah. That's it. Even cassette tape, you know, got to get that on cassette. So
yeah,
still a few things left that we haven't done yet for that project.
Sweet. Well, there's a lot of time, you know, to do it. A lot of time to master all this stuff. So yeah, I can't wait. And you know, the one thing I was just thinking about just now, because I'm a massive hip hop head, and I know you are too. So I can only imagine the excitement and the chills you must have got when you found out Redman was on your album, Salty Waters 2. I mean, sure, it was a skit, but I mean, just to even have his voice on your project, to me, I would flip. If that was me, I would still be excited to this day. Like, how did you feel about it?
Oh, bro, I've been trying to collaborate with Redman for a long time, man. And with Red, I wanted him on a track so bad, but he was working. He hit me back and said he was working hard on his album. So he was doing no features at the time. I was like, shit. But he agreed to let me have the skit for the album. You know, that didn't take bugger all time off him. And I think the dope thing with that was, it was a personal message from Red, and it almost made it better than having him on a track. You know, I was like, man, this is so cool. And like, yeah, like everything Red, he's in my top 3 MCs, man. I still don't know if he's number 1, 2, or 3, but I got 3 MCs that kind of sit there. And yeah, Reggie's awesome, man. You know, his character, the way he does the albums. And I tell you what, he's why I made Salty Waters, you know. Redman's Muddy Waters album is like one of my favorite kind of albums, and was one of the big inspirations. Hence, even the skits at the start of the albums. You know, I love Redman for his skits and all that style, and it just seems like hip hop's missing all that. Everything's so clean and polished, where it's just song after song, and it loses that whole album masterpiece. You know, it's not a piece of art anymore. And I think that's what really influenced me with Salty Waters. A lot of Redman influence, you know, just a big fan of him, and wanted to do my own kind of Australian blend of that inspiration. And yeah, having Red on there, giving the wisdom of the funk doc, bro, yeah, I was pretty ecstatic, man. Because like I said, it was something that I wanted for a long time, and he's a hard man to get a hold of. Very hard man to get a hold of. So when that door finally opened, it was a big blessing for me.
Yeah, no. Well, I gotta say, my top 2 hip hop artists of all time: Redman, Reggie Nobles. No. All right. So as you said, in the intro of this video, you're in celebration mode at the moment. Do you have anything that you can share with us in the closing remarks of future projects? or like a name or anything you're working on that you can, yeah, give us a hint on? Or
The
nothing?
future stuff, thinking I am actually going to now back off the album stuff for a while. Like, I think I'm going to focus on dropping bomb singles with the Protectors. I want to focus more on collaboration stuff. Some features. I'm going to do some features for other people, which I've just done recently for some kids up in Indo. So I got this Indonesian feature with Optymisitc. Sounds dope, man. These guys, I don't know what they're saying, but they're spitting some fire, man. They're going nuts. And some boys from Rockingham, you know, the local scenes. But I think my big focus will definitely be more just dropping some tracks here and there with probably the Protectors and my other crew, Renegades of Raw. And just less focusing on putting so much energy into a big project, which takes years to create. So I think that's where I'll sit for a while. And I need a bit of time off because I've been going at it hard for so many years, you know. I'm about to be a father, so I need to just chill out for a bit and just do baby steps for now and work on one track at a time, you know, keep it simple.
Oh, well, congratulations on the big news. Nice.
Yeah, that's all. And I'm really, really excited about it, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, make sure you stay optimistic.
Always, bro. Always optimistic. Glass is always half full, man.
All right, so on the final part, is there anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to shout out, promote, or anything before we go?
Just the usual, bro. Just shout out to Mr. Loffler, the Beatsmith, Rob Shaker, JR, Mr. Crazy Craze, my boy, my girl Charlotte, who does all my logo designs and artworks. You know, these are the people who have played a major influence and are helping all my projects, you know. We've got a kind of a small team of friends that work really well, whether they're creating the beat or they're giving very good constructive feedback on what I'm doing. These are the people that have definitely made big influences on it. So shout outs to all those guys. Salty Waters 2 is obviously out. Those who haven't heard it, man, it's a masterpiece that we've worked on. So really proud of it. And thanks for having me, bro. Long overdue, man.
No, it's all good. Well, yeah, to all my people in the group, make sure you check out Salty Waters 2. It is amazing. Salty Waters 1 and Protectors of the Lost Art. It really is a masterpiece, and I know you'll love it. All right, thank you again for your time, man.
Thanks, Corbs.
All right,
Pleasure, bros. You too, man. Peace.